Steve, this tournament's been good for you guys for a number of reasons. Not this tournament, but Thanksgiving stuff, in the respect that what Jamil had a huge tournament 100 years ago. Deontay had a huge tournament, whatever that was. Monte, Nick 2 years ago, and last year Taylor. Who's the guy this year that's going to?
We'll find out next week, right? I mean, I don't know, from that standpoint. The one thing I do know when you talk about all these tournaments, and this is going back to really, if you look back to last, I've been here 5 years, and you take Fred's, 4 or 5 year run here, you look at our neutral site record, it's really good. And you start, you're 2-0 down there in Florida, you're 2-1 the next year, you're 3-0 in Myrtle Beach, you're 2-1 in Maui, and those are all preseason tournaments to where that's quick 9-2, 10-2, I don't know. And then you go back to, Fred's teams on neutral floor were really good as well. I think that has a lot to do, obviously, with personnel, but I think it has a lot to do with our fan base and how well they travel in Florida and Maui, and I think again in Atlantis next week. So that's huge for us.
You guys already obviously had a Power 5 test, but how do you look at this where you get likely 3 really good games in 3 days to figure out, you've used the word exposed, not pejoratively, but learn about yourself.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you're down there in a tournament with 4 top 15 teams in the country, and then the teams outside of the top 15 are ourselves, Michigan, Alabama, 3 other really, really good programs, and we just played Southern Miss the other night. But, it's an unbelievable tournament. It's a thing I'll talk to our guys. We're in this tournament because of the past, because of what those former guys did for us to put us on this stage, to get in Maui, to get in battle for Atlantis. And so we need to go represent, the Iowa State name and those guys the right way. And so starts with Michigan. They're very good. I mean, they can spread you out. They play 4 guards. They got a really good big kid. Juwan's off to a really good start.
How do you defend Teskey?
You want me to say it on? You want me to say that?
Okay, what's Teskey do good?
But I do. Would you?
I think he's really skilled. I mean, all those guys up there are really skilled. I think that's one of the things that the way Beeline played, obviously his recruiting skill, and Juwan's come in and really kind of put his stamp on things as well. But Teskey can play around the basket. They really make a point of emphasis to throw the ball inside to him. He can score around the basket, but he can also pop, and he can make threes as well. So he's going to be a tough matchup. He's big around the basket to where he can really wall up and change shots at the rim. And so, he's a big, big key to what they do on both ends of the floor.
What's your messaging where you guys could obviously go down there and win 3 games, but you could lose 3 games to 3 good teams and maybe not feel like that's a major referendum on you? How do you go? What's the mindset you have to go down there? You're playing that kind of competition in a unique setting.
Well, I think you gotta take it a day at a time. Like right now, I mean, I'm watching Michigan in the office. We won't really talk too much about Michigan. We got to get ourselves better. I mean, it's November, it's mid-November, it's not even going to be December by the time we get back. And so the next 2 days really need to be us getting ourselves better, both ends of the floor. Saturday we're off, and then Sunday we'll really get into Michigan. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You have to just turn the page really quick, win or lose, because we lost a tough game last year to Arizona, and then we bounced back and won 2 really big games, and that kind of catapulted us. I think that's where people saw, man, this team's good. You have a lot of NBA people out there. You got a lot of people watching because all the games are nationally televised. Win or lose, you got to block it out. But also, too, we all need to know you're still building right this time of year. You're trying to figure your team out, get better. But the tournament obviously lends the opportunities to get really, really good resume wins.
What did this Maui last year do for Taylor?
Got him to the Lakers, right?
Was that the springboard?
I think everybody knew Taylor was a really good player, but I think on the national stage, Illinois, I think he had 30 against Illinois, and was, I thought he did a really good job on McDaniels for San Diego State. He wanted that matchup, and I think people really, saw him play at a high level out there, and that kept his name in the forefront all season long. He had obviously a tremendous freshman year for us.
Through the first 3 weeks or whatever it's been, we've mostly seen you play the same. But now you mentioned that once you start to get to some of these different matchups, maybe you go different style. Like, is it possible that 3 games in 3 days that you guys could look different in each of those?
Yeah, I think you got to talk to your team about that. I drew up practice plan today, and I've got our normal lineup, where it could be Zion, Mike at the 4 with Georgia Solo at the 5. We're going to practice, the next couple days playing big, with Solomon and George both out there together. And then we've got to have a small package, where who plays the 4. I don't really look at it like that. It's more about just offensively who's in that kind of 4 position, or where who can learn that the best, whether that's Rossier or Prentice, one of those guys like that. But I think we've got to spend a little bit more time with that, because every team's so unique. You look at Carolina, you got Cole Anthony, and then I've just seen a little bit of them where they got a couple guys rebound at a high level. You have to play big against them. Michigan, plays 4 guards, so you have to play small at times against them. Or can our normal lineup, be good against them? And so, Alabama's got great personnel. And then the other side of the bracket is, extremely loaded as well. So it's this tournament you could play 3 different ways for sure.
Ross, you say anything about Michigan? I assume they played them a couple times, maybe.
No, I haven't asked him. I mean that thing. Michigan is Michigan. The great thing is we're able to have 4 or 5 games, on tape to watch and see. But it's early in the year, so they've got a couple days before we play. They may they can add some stuff this time of year. You're always adding and taking away, and so but they play really hard. They compete, they share the ball, but they spread you out. And Xavier Simpson, we recruited him really hard when I got the job here. I was really impressed with him. He's a winning player. You can talk a lot about his game A to Z. The dude wins, and he's a winner. And I've been really impressed watching him over the last couple of years.
Was the Fab Five part of your formative basketball years?
Yeah, that was just in the '90s, right? I was just going.
I didn't know,
yeah.
In the Midwest.
Yeah, no, Jalen, Chris, Jimmy, Ray, Jawan. Those guys were a lot of fun to watch. I guess I would have been 92, 93, senior in high school, freshman in college, and so my brother went to Carolina, so '93 he was happy in '93, but. I watch those guys, and what's cool about the Fab Five, and this is just me when I look at it, how well those guys are doing now. You know what I mean? And they've had so much exposure and so much notoriety. But Jawan's the head coach of Michigan, Chris is working for TNT, Jalen's on ESPN. Jimmy and Ray I'm not as familiar with from a national standpoint, but those guys are all doing really well and represent Michigan really well.
How have you seen Tyrese's leadership been able to step up, considering it's a small sample size with the 3-point shooting struggles, but how have you seen him able to kind of rally this group even though the offense has been struggling a little bit?
Yeah, I think the offense, we're just not shooting. We charted every one of the 4 guys, Trey, Rossier, Prentice, and Tyrese just charted every 3-pointer. See good look, bad look. About 65% of them are good looks. We're just not making a lot of them right now, and so you just got to continue to instill confidence in those guys. Tyrese, the great thing about him, he's a willing passer. He's 9 assists to 1 turnover ratio, something like that right now, which is incredible, but it's early, so he's got to try to sustain that. I don't know if he can sustain it at that level because that's extremely high. But he's got an infectious personality, and he's got a winning spirit, and we're going to need that this week.
This is probably too fatalistic, but if the 3-point shooting doesn't improve, at what point do you say, okay, this is what it is, and maybe we got to tweak to either reevaluating shot selection or sets that maybe don't emphasize those looks as much?
Yeah, I think you see us trying to go inside a little bit more. We're making a point of emphasis with that, making a point of emphasis of doing some things to get downhill. But man, I don't want. I see these guys every day, so I don't want to. I'm not. This is way too early to pull back. You look. I just got to go over the percentages from time and time, and Prentice was 33 or so at Colorado State. I know Trey can make shots. Rossier was mid-30s at Penn State. Tyrese was 40 plus 40 for us last year. Shot selection is probably a third of it, but it's not. If shot selection was 3/4 of it, then I'd really be concerned, or we'd be trying to do some things different. It's early to where, man, you have a game next Wednesday and you go 10 for 19. Now you're already shooting up you're shooting your numbers up again right away. But we just got to instill confidence, but we do need to be smart too, and where, man, Solomon's been really good around the basket. Let's go inside and try to establish him, and let's do some things, get Ross here going downhill, Tyrese in the middle of the floor, and let him create and make plays.
Does distance have anything to do with it? Distance of the arc moving back?
No, I don't think so. I do think that if you look at I think we've shot 69 threes, the 4 of those guys combined, and I think about 10 of them are too deep, to where
too deep.
are just too deep, you know what I mean, to where we charted that as a bad shot, you know what I mean, when you look at the numbers, but I don't think that has anything to do with the line. Nick Babb, Taylor last year,
They're
they
all
shot
back
a
in
lot.
the
They
rim.
all shoot. But I think you move the line back a little bit, and now you move back a little bit, and now the shot's really long. But, last year Tyrese shot a lot of deep ones. And so, I don't want to over-evaluate that.
I guess to go back to my point, you're comfortable being pretty patient to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, I think because, I think that's a big key in how we play and how we do things. You got to be able to make shots. Michigan's going to give you some different looks. They're more of a stay-at-home team, and they're going to make you beat them from 15, 18 feet.